romance, and how much does a romance need to have, sex scenes, and how much can a romance be more focused on, Gail, do you want to kind of summarize? I think you'll do a better job than I will, probably, in my lackluster state.
I don't know. I think my concept of romance is not exactly, hearts and flowers or, let's go fuck. It's more.
We're recording.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you meant. Okay, that's a good. Okay, no, keep going. That's fine.
See, it's not just Lewis, right?
Oh man.
My romances are darker, and there's more like yearning and more distance between them. And I like the concept of opposites attracting. I have like badass warriors being attracted to healers and that kind of stuff. So what makes it a romance? Just because there's romance in it, can I legitimately call it a romance? And is somebody going to read the first 3 episodes and say, this is not a romance? Nobody's fallen into bed yet. So how do I draw that line? Is it a thriller romance? Is it what is it?
Something that I see on a regular basis is slow burn romance.
Uh-huh.
So it means that, you may be
yes.
And I would think a lot of your stories would fit into that.
Uh-huh.
But they're romance is the primary story about them getting together, or is the primary story about something happening and in the meantime they get together?
And which one does it matter what happens? Is it still going to be a romance? What are we talking? Does it need to be to make it a romance?
At what point does it become a romance? Does it make the transition from having a romantic subplot to it actually kind of being considered a romance? Because I'm interested in this question too, because I've got something right now that is I'm working on a love triangle.
Oh, nice.
And I've never done one before, so this is going to be fun. But nice. I'm 25 chapters, Vela chapters in, right? So, and I've just introduced the LoveBot 9000 that's part of the love triangle.
Whoa!
I haven't even introduced the telepathic alien yet.
So is that, though? Let me ask then: is that wouldn't really be a slow burn though? Because if the character's not even introduced until then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because a slow burn implies that there's something at the beginning and it's slowly progressing. But you're talking about a totally new character in there. So interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. So there must be more story than there is romance at this point.
Well, I mean, I'm a boy. So, there's lots of gadgets and things blowing up and, daring do and all that. I can't. John's so much better at this than I am.
Maybe it has something to do with whether you have a romantic thriller or a romance. I don't know.
And again, the definitions are so squishy. It's hard for me to decide. And really, genre definitions are, I think you pointed out, Charlotte, is where bookstores put their books. So they'll have a place, hey, this is romance, let's put it over here. And if they have something that doesn't fit into any of those, then where, and again, does that even matter on Vela? But, when we have our tags, can I legitimately say romance if they don't fall into bed together yet?
You could call it, like I said, you could do slow burn. You could do, if you close the door, you could probably even call it a sweet romance. There are there must be 25 different levels of how
what they call heat or spice.
Yeah. And I don't think any of mine is going to ever be called sweet.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't see the thing. I think that's the conundrum that Gail has is if she's going to have romance, it'll probably be in a relatively dark story. So to call it like a clean romance or a sweet romance, I think it would throw off some of her readers. So,
call it a dark romance.
Ooh, I like that.
Because dark romance always sounds like they're drinking each other's blood while they're doing it. I don't know. I just
Well, in one of Gail's stories, that could certainly happen.
It could.
As long as she doesn't have to describe it in detail, right? So
I've got a Regency, an old Regency that I am looking at, and in fact, part of it's already up. Don't tell anybody, and it's a nice, sweet Regency romance. Sweet-ish, yeah, sweet.
yeah.
Of course, there's people plotting to murder people and stuff like that, as one does in a sweet romance.
In a Maccabee sweet
Yeah.
romance, yeah.
Romance, people are plotting to do this and that, and take somebody's inheritance and stuff like that. And I've got a highwayman who wears an eye patch. I mean, hello,
Well.
yes, I'm in. But
I mean, eye patches are sexy.
Oh yes.
You can't go wrong with an eye patch unless you got one over both eyes, and that's just weird. Yeah.
But I'm just trying to decide, where do I, can I legitimately say this has romantic subplot? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. One example of a story that kind of does both almost equally, that has a main story arc and a are they going to get together, or sort of parallel, is Outlander, especially the first season of Outlander, where it's like they're trying to change history. That's kind of one main story arc. But of course, it's always also about, well, will Jamie and Claire get together? Right. Or will they be able to stay together? So that's an interesting example where apparently you can that sort of has its cake and eats it too. Like, it has the romance. You could call it a romance, but you could also call it, historical fiction, and it's kind of equally both.
Mm-hmm.
It helps that the two characters have like tremendous chemistry.
Yes. Oh God, they do.
Yeah, yes. And I mean, just it's smoldering, even in a scene where they're not, naked, right? I mean, they're just like, you can feel it. I don't know how those two actors aren't married in real life, really, because they just seriously they are just
I love the smoldering idea, and the fact that something is keeping them apart, but it doesn't detract from their desire for each other, and I love that kind of I love you, but I can't do this, that kind of stuff. And that kind of tension, that romantic tension is I want that to be palpable in my stories. So again, I'm still not quite sure what I'm going to call everything, but I'm loving slow burn and dark and some other things too. So
yeah, I mean, you could combine those, a slow burn dark romance. That might be the best way to go.
It could even be a slow burn dark romantic thriller.
I think what the takeaway on this, Gail, is you need to make sure you've got all of your tropey words, your keywords together to then put that in your blurb.
Gotcha.
That
makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I'm noticing a lot of that. People are not even doing a classic blurb per se. They're listing their tropes and giving like just a brief overview. And it's largely because people aren't. They're not necessarily discerning. They're like, oh yeah, that's my jam right there. Slow burn romance. Bam, I'm reading it. So
yeah,
exactly.
Okay. That makes sense. That helps a lot, guys. Thanks.
Sure. I mean, and this is also where we're going and seeing like what are the top, keywords on Vela lately.
Right.
That's so helpful. And because I mean, some of this nomenclature changes or evolves a little bit, and like what we might think of as this subgenre of romance 10 years ago, maybe they're calling that something different now slightly. I don't know. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got this one's under 10 minutes. I'm going to stop it here.